Let me unmute myself. Good afternoon, good evening, guys. Can you let me know if you can hear me? I haven't actually done a stream in so long. I'm rusty AF. I think you guys can hear me. And what I really want to do in this stream today is strip it back to what we were doing towards the end of last season. I want to answer as many of your questions as is possible. We're not going to look to bring anyone on on air in this particular stream. I'm sure you guys remember, towards the end of the last season, I was doing rapid fire questions, trying to get as many of your questions answered that, we couldn't in previous streams. And that's what we're going to aim to do today. Let's give a name check to some of the guys returning again. I appreciate, there's been quite a lot of streams recently, but hey, who's complaining? Got Jason in the chat, Zimmy, Barnes, got Bilal Qureshi in the chat, Harbour Boy, Paulie, Nathan Price. How's things going? How you doing, Nathan? Good to see you here, buddy. Matthias asking Jimenez or Werner, Doherty or Cesar Azpilicueta. Jimenez or Werner's a bit of a difficult one, Matthias, because they're in two different price points. I'd actually go with Jimenez though. 2 million cheaper. And we know he knows, he's played in this league. He's got the exposure. I want to see a bit more from Werner. I know he's done it, at all levels previously. He's done it at Champions League. He's done it in Germany. We know that, but we don't know. Premier League's a different kettle of fish. There's been a number of players that have come to this league, and they've not quite, lived up to expectations, should we say. So Jimenez for me on that particular question. How's it going, Guna? A.K.A. Matt Bronson, how you doing, buddy? How's it going, Waz? 2 Spurs, says Radlad. Swap Son to Ziyech, or Ziyech. Pretty sure it's Ziyech. No, well, I'm a Spurs fan. Wear my heart on my sleeve. Bit of a difficult one, it's been some tough times, but I think we've got some good fixtures. And we're kind of being overlooked, which I like. And, I'm going to take the punt. Paulie's asking, seeing as you have more or less the same team as me and knowing my track record, are you worried? I am absolutely petrified, mate. I might have to change my whole team in that case, Paulie. Bilal Qureshi saying, explain that Thomas pick. Leicester not exactly great defensively. No, I'm completely with you. It could be Thomas, it could be Justin. I agree, Leicester defensively, they're not brilliant. They've got some defensive issues. But he's 4.5. Thomas in particular looked quite attacking and lively in the restart. Chilwell's got a flag and kind of, the transfer stuff going over his head, and Fuchs is still red flagged. So I think there is a chance Thomas could still start. And if he does, I think he's a nice differential. At 4.5, it's not exactly much of a risk. But like I said, I could go Justin. Salah Mohammed saying, first time here, watched a few streams from this week. Love it, lads. No, full credit to Steve-O and Jason. They've been banging out the content and good content. There's not many, streams out there, that you can say are offering consistent content, and that's what Elite FPL do. And, I keep saying it on previous streams. I'm in the live chat saying it. But you'll be surprised at the amount of people following, FPL channels and YouTube channels specifically, that follow them but don't actually subscribe to them. So if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, but more importantly, turn on that notification bell so you know exactly when we go live. It will be really appreciated. Tobias, how you doing, buddy? Good evening. Nasty Balls. King Kun saying, does the Premier League bias theory work for Messi? Nah, Messi's just a god, isn't he? He's one of the best footballers to have ever graced the planet. I don't think you can say, the Premier League theory kind of with Messi. Not at all, not for me. What do you think about Ali? I have him on my team. I don't actually think he'll start. Mark McCarthy asking that question. I don't think Ali will start. So yeah, he's not for me. Ray Joyce, Armstrong versus James Ward-Prowse. Armstrong for me. I think Armstrong looked unbelievable in the restart. I know he's playing for Saints, but he looked very lively, and he's the sort of player, and he did it. He did it towards the end of the season. He can bag double-digit returns. On his day, he's quite an explosive player, and that's why I prefer him to the likes of James Ward-Prowse, to the likes of St. Maximin. Yeah, Armstrong for me. Thomas Hemming saying, are you getting KDB in? So my plans are to hold 2 free transfers, hence the picks of, Spurs assets, Leicester assets, who have got 2 good fixtures in a row, and then do Aubameyang and Son or Maddison out and bring in Sterling instead of De Bruyne. Sterling's always been my boy. I like going for the risky player, and Sterling's quite explosive on his day. And probably Greenwood. I'd love to go Rashford or Bruno, but I'm not sure funds will allow. So yeah, that's my plans. Hold 2 free transfers. Use 2 in game week 3. See where that takes me. Radlad saying, would you swap Dyer if you wasn't Spurs fan? Who would you swap him for? Yeah, maybe I would spread the 4.5, kind of like downgrade into another 4.5. Maybe James Justin, maybe Charlie Taylor, and then upgrade one of my 2 bench defenders. I've got the 2 Palace 4.0 defenders in there at the moment, Ferguson and what's the other guy? Tyreek Johnson, is it? No, it's not Johnson. Yeah, so I could do that, but at the moment I'm sticking to it. I want to see how pre-season goes because I think there's a few options at Spurs that could become good options. You've got Dyer at 5.0. You've got Tanganga. If Aurier leaves, Tanganga could be an option. You've also got Ben Davies, who I'm not a fan of, but at 5.0 playing on that left-back position, if he does play again, could be an option. I'm not one that usually likes to go for centre-back positions, but the reason I've got Dyer in there is he's probably the most nailed Spurs defender, so it's more safety on my case. Uncle Juicy TV saying, hello, Boona. Confident Ziyech and Werner will be great, but they may not start straight off the bat. Giving them the eye test for a couple of games is no bad thing. That's exactly what I'm thinking. I'm not for a second saying Ziyech or Werner won't make, impression. They could absolutely destroy it in the first 2 game weeks, but I just want to sit back. I want to see how they play. And I think 2 game weeks isn't the biggest risk you're ever going to take. Yes, if they do well and you've got them in, you've got the advantage, absolutely. But this early on in the season, I don't think it's a bad thing. Nathan Price saying, find it hard to find a balanced draft. I'm struggling to build one with the factor that we have to consider Bruno and De Bruyne. You don't have to consider them. De Bruyne, I can understand. Bruno, yes, he was great last season. Is it sustainable? We shall see. 10.5, 3 million difference from Greenwood. It's quite a bit of money. If you can do it, great. But if you can't, it's not the end of the world. Adam Wheeler, any planned transfers yet? Like I mentioned, I'm thinking if Son stays to Son. So basically, earlier on I had Ziyech in over Son and Dyer was Tierney. So that position, Son or Ziyech, whoever it is, I'll be getting rid of them. I'll be getting rid of Aubameyang in game week 3, and I'll be bringing in Sterling and probably Greenwood. If funds allow, I'll go Bruno or Greenwood, or Bruno or Rashford. But it really depends on what I do with the rest of my team and whether I've got any money in the bank. And another thing I wanted to mention, I'm someone that plays the game in quite a risky fashion. In the past 3 seasons, I've probably used my first wildcard within the first 5 to 8 game weeks. Last season, I used it in game week 3. So I'm someone that is not afraid to use my wildcard early, but I've had a good hard think about it, and this season hasn't, and last season is nothing like the previous season. With coronavirus, I think we need to be a lot more careful. We don't know, whether the season's going to be a normal season, whether there's going to be stoppages, none of that. So my cautious advice would be to be mindful, and if you can avoid using your wild card early, I'd avoid doing it. And do a mini wild card, worst case -4 in game week 3, or use 2 free transfers, or like some people are doing, have the likes of Greenwood or another City or United player on your bench and put in one extra fodder player that has got a good fixture, like a defender, 4.5 defender, and do it that way. Those are probably the best strategies. It's Sheep saying, Evans out for the first 3 games. Surely you can find someone else for 4.5. Yeah, Evans is out, but Soyuncu's back. So you never know. Their 2 first fixtures are West Brom away and Burnley at home. We don't know how they're going to play. Leicester could do fine, but it's a risk. A risk at 4.5, if it pays off, you're laughing. If you're taking that sort of risk at a player like, Aubameyang, 12 million, he's not a risk, but for example's sake, and he blanks, that's a lot more painful. 4.5, a lot of defenders tend to blank anyway. Even if he was to get 2.8, it's not going to do you the world of harm. Nund Mohan saying, who should be my striker picks, mate, for game week 1? So far, it's Antonio, Mitrovic, and Jimenez. I like the Mitrovic pick. Mitrovic has been in all my drafts so far. Jimenez is a good player. There's absolutely no doubt in it. At 8.5, I want to see a bit more explosivity, and I don't think Jimenez, kind of provides that. But that's not to say he's a bad pick. Jimenez is someone that, he ticks along. He will get a goal most game weeks, which is absolutely fine. But it depends on your playing style. The other players that really stick out to me are more premium assets, so the likes of Kane. A lot of people are going Werner. I don't think he's a bad option. Personally, I think I'm going to stick and see how he settles in. And then game week 3 onwards, I can look after the Liverpool game. If I want to bring him in, I'll bring him in. I've got Kane there. Kane doesn't start well. Easy swap. The other pick, I would really like to have in my team as a forward. I can't right now, mostly due to the fixtures. I know he didn't have a best second half of the season last season, is Jamie Vardy. At 10.0 though, with the way FPL price players have made it a bit difficult, there's a lot of players, around the 9, 10, 11 mark. So, yeah, Vardy's not a bad pick at all. Foyth and Sessegnon, good options. No, Wes, dead options. Next question. Dre Zero, FPL my guy. What you saying, Dre? How you doing, bro? Hope you are well. Just sitting. Marshall Mouse saying, where are you from, Boona? I don't know why you give me Jewish Arab vibes. I am actually from England, from a little town called Luton. I'm not Arab, I'm Indian. But thank you, I've heard that many times before. Alioski an option. Now, see, Alioski was an option I was considering. He scored 5 goals and he registered 5 assists. And he probably had, he played less than half a season. And he's classified as a 4.5 defender. It'll be interesting to see if he plays. It really depends on how Leeds set up. Now, I was reading through FPL Chefs. He's a Leeds fan, for those that are aware of FPL Chef. And he did a really interesting blog. You should go check it out. And on there, he mentioned that there were occasions where Luke Ayling, a very popular option in this, in the FPL community, played in a back 3, in right centre back, I believe. And when that was the case, Dallas moved over to the right wing back, and Alioski played left wing back. So again, for me, it's a wait and see. I think Alioski is potentially a out of position winger if he gets the starts. Last season, his minutes weren't great. He played, like I said, about half the season, but he's one to watch out for. And one many people are sleeping on. I understand why, but let's see how things kind of manifest. Mogamat Basia Williams saying, is Saka good for the first 2 games? I'm not too sure. I think there are better options at that price. I think St. Maximin's better, more nailed on, more explosive, and also Armstrong. And also the fact that Arsenal now have Willian, Pepe, even potentially Aubameyang if Lacazette starts up front, all vying for those 2 positions. So I'm not sure Saka's going to get too many starts particularly. So not for me. Dre Zero saying, with lesser players, it seems playing in FPL, would you say that instead of top 10k, people that usually say that should say aim for 5k or nah? One sec, that question makes no sense, Dre Zero. Maybe I've read that wrong. I don't think there will be less players, Dre, but we're only at 1.5 million right now, and there's only a couple of weeks to go. But top 10k still remains the kind of, the elite you kind of want to reach. Some people have been saying in recent years that we should aim for the top 50k. People have been saying top 10k when there used to be 1 million, 2 million players. Last season there were 7. People are still saying, top 10k is kind of the elite banding. For me, top 10k will always stay it regardless of the, whether the players are reduced or, they go up. That's my personal opinion on that. Mark McCarthy says, you think Lo Celso will start ahead of Ali or quite a defensive-looking midfield? No, I think Lo Celso will start. I think Jose really favours him, and he played there all of the kind of the restart. So, yeah, I think Lo Celso starts. I don't know how much he's been priced at this season, though. Not really looked at his price. Salam Hamid saying, surely Rodgers will be looking at the market to buy a replacement for Chilwell. I'll be surprised if he doesn't. Yeah, absolutely. You'd think he does. If he does, I'll switch Luke Thomas out and bring in James Justin. Absolutely. Baguna saying, see, you got the most expensive CDM in your team. Poor banter, Matt. Expected better from you. It's not very original, is it? Jigs John saying, best formation to start this season. Currently on 4-3-3 and 4-4-2. I'm personally on a 3-5-2. Out of those 2, I'd go 4-3-3. I rarely ever play 4-4-2. Just a personal preference, but for me, 3-5-2 is the optimum. Gravy Dave saying Leno or Martinez. I don't think Leno's going to be back at the start of the season, Gravy Dave. So Martinez for me. 4.5. If he, what's to say Martinez doesn't keep his position? I think he could easily hold that position even when Leno's back. He had a phenomenal restart. Like he was on top form. I even looked better than Leno at some stages, in my opinion. And I'm saying this. I'm a Spurs fan, and I'm just looking at it from a footballing perspective. He looks class. But I was saying your team is good in terms of covering price points and being able to get anyone in one or two moves. Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. That's what I'm aiming for. I think price points is the way everyone should be going. You need to be able to envisage, those players, but who they're going to be in a few weeks' time. And if you can do that and do it without making too many transfers or taking too many hits, brilliant. Salah Mohammed, if Ali gets rid of the moustache, he's in my team. Lol. That's the one, Bilal. Yep. Tyreek Mitchell. Sorry, guys, I'm about 10 minutes behind in these questions. I'm going to try and speed up. Do apologise. Hope you're enjoying the stream. If you are, please hit that like button. If you're not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Nasty Balls. Will Son play anywhere near the goal this season, or will he be hugging the touchline? That, I think James mentioned that on Planet FPL. Last season, Mourinho stopped him from going forward. And I think James was saying that if we see the same from Son again in the preseason games and the European qualifiers, he's going to be staying far away from Son, and I'll be doing exactly the same. Gabriel Dorop saying, I read about Mourinho's interest in Rakitic. Would you like him at Spurs? Gabriel, being a fan of a club that hardly signs any players, give me them all. Like that's what I say. Give me anyone, I'll take them. Maybe not Benteke, but yeah, give me most of them. Jason saying, great versatility in that team. Kane to Werner, or even Aguero, and the ability to switch out Aubameyang or Salah and Son for Manchester players. That's exactly what I'm doing, Jason. That's it. I'm looking to build a squad based on price points, and I was speaking to Dredd about this previously last week in the Discord in Hangouts, and he's spot on. That's exactly what we need to be doing. We don't see that as a player. We don't see Son as Son. We need to be looking at Son as 9 million. We need to be looking at Aubameyang as a 10 million slot. That's what we need to be doing. FPL Tips, how are you, pal? Harry, how's it going? Good to see you here. Cheers for joining. Radler saying, what finishes have I had past season in FPL? Let me see if I can bring it up for you. Bear with me one moment. I will see what I can do. Game week history. There are my previous finishes. I don't know if you can see that, Radler. I do apologise. It is quite small. Last season I finished 36k. The season before that 3.2k. The season before that 80k. The season before that was my worst, 171k. Before that 68k, and the season before that 73k. So in the 6 seasons, my worst was 171k. My best 3k, which was the year before last. Waz saying Ziyech and Dallas to Armstrong and Robertson. I like that. I do like that. I just want to put this out there. I'm not saying for a second that the Chelsea assets aren't going to do well. I think they've got the potential, especially at their price point, to absolutely outshine those price points. I just want to see how they settle. And I think 1 or 2 game weeks, especially if they turn up against Liverpool as well. They could do well against Brighton, but if they really turn up against Liverpool, then we know we're in for, a treat this season. I think everyone will be piling in on them. So, yeah. Matthew is actually saying, best 4 million defender who's likely to get minutes, Ben Johnson or Nathan Ferguson? I think Ferguson or Tyreek Mitchell, Matthew. I was speaking to some Palace fans online, and they were saying and I actually saw a media outlet post that there's a good chance Tyreek Mitchell will be starting the season. That's why I've got both of them on my bench at the moment. Their fixtures actually aren't too bad. They've got a few hairy fixtures in between, but 4.0, if both of them or even one of them starts, you're laughing. Cheers, Vince. Appreciate that, bro. Nathan Price saying, I've seen a lot of people considering Greenwood. The fact is, I just don't want to be forced into using an early wildcard, so I just want to get off to a good start. Yeah, but I think Greenwood's a good choice. 7.5. He had a blinding restart to the season. Some people saying, is it sustainable? He's 7.5. He's not 10.5. It's worth taking the risk, and he's playing for a squad where there's going to be goals in that United squad. There's absolutely nothing denying that. What finishes? Yeah, you've already asked me that. Hey, my friend, how are you? Optimus Prime in the house. Optimus Prime, I'm good, man. How are you doing? Cheers for joining. Daniel Jarman saying Salah and Mitrovic or Martial and Greenwood. Well, you need Salah and Mitrovic early in the season because Martial and Greenwood don't play game week 1, Daniel. So I don't quite understand that. But if you mean you're thinking to switch over those two to Martial and Greenwood in game week 2, go for it. This game, a lot of people tend to play this game risk adverse, but those that really excel and get ahead early and do well, so a lot of them take risks. So a phrase famously termed those that have been part of Elite for a long time by moderator G Wiz, hashtag play your own game. Go with your gut. I'm a big fan of my gut. I'm not a sheep, and that's why I've got a decent, I'd say a decent record so far. I want to obviously improve it. I want to increase the top 10k finishes, but yeah, hashtag play your own game. Waz saying, I'm not a fan of ZX stats in the Dutch league. 6 goals in a Farmers League is bang average. Yeah, but, he's got potential, mate. We've seen him do it at the highest level. He's done it in the Champions League. We know what he's capable of. We've seen all the highlights reels. We've seen him in live action in games. The player's got talent, but the Premier League's a different kettle of fish. So let's see how he gels, and then we can bring him in. Or, if you're starting with him, good luck to you. Radler saying you should get Ryan goalkeeper for goalkeeper rotation. It's a clutch in some game weeks. Yeah, absolutely. I completely get that. But that first game week, I don't want to start with the goalkeeper there's nothing to say any other goalkeeper that we choose is definitely keeping a clean sheet. But I can't be going Ryan. Not with Chelsea up in first game week. I don't think he's going to be keeping a clean sheet there. So he's a no for me. Vardy or Werner, says Himendu Upadhyay. Vardy for me, bro. Mogamat Basia William says, you think there will be a 4.5 midfielder that does wonders? Yeah, potentially. Who? Absolutely no idea. I'm playing 3-5-2. I will never have a 4.5 midfielder in my squad. But if we do, then brilliant. Richie is probably the closest to that, 5.0. I don't really want to go into too much detail on Souček because I've publicly said I think he's a terrible pick. I absolutely stand by that. He's a B-Tech Fellaini. Forget that he's a C-Tech Fellaini. But it is what it is. He's 5.0. I know people are using him as a kind of rotatable and they're not going to play him every single game week. And yeah, he scored 3 goals on the restart. Is it sustainable? I don't know. He scored 6 or 8 goals in the Czech league, I believe, or something like that. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I do apologise. But he's a central defensive midfielder. Not for me. Mr. Anderson, how do you think West Brom would get on this year? I don't think they're going to do too well, to be honest, mate. A lot will be depending on Matheus Pereira, but I think their squad's probably one of the weakest going forward. And defensively, I don't think they're best either. I think West Brom will go down this season. Keen to see how Matheus Pereira, however you pronounce it, I do apologise, I'm probably butchering that. I'll be interested to see how he does, though. 6.0, he's a great budget midfielder. He's in the kind of mix with the likes of Armstrong, with the likes of St. Maximum, Podence, however you want to call him. Even Jota, if he starts. It depends which one of those two start. But there's a few options in that 5.5 to 6.5 range, and some of them could become good options. Paulie's saying there's always one cheap option that has a great season. Wan-Bissaka in 2018-19, Lundstrom last year. Yeah, and could it be the back to the Palace assets again, the 4.0 defenders, Tyreek Mitchell and Ferguson? It could well be. Harry Roki saying rumours Leeds triggered Ryan Kent's release course, forgot Liverpool sold him to Rangers. That's an interesting one. I've seen a lot of Ryan Kent at Rangers, and he's a very lively player. He'll do good at Leeds, I think. Interesting to see if that happens. Thoughts on Vardy? I think he's brilliant as an FPL option. I know he didn't have the best of restarts, said it a few times, but his fixtures are there. He's worth a risk. He might be a nice differential as well. I haven't seen many teams in the Twitterscape with Vardy in it, so why not try and take a bit of a risk? If Spurs could sign one player this window, realistically, who do you want and who could they get? Realistically. Man, I was just about to say Gareth Bale and then I read the realistic part. I don't really know. I think we need to sign some defenders, but I really, really want Gareth Bale, but there's absolutely no way we could afford his wages. So it's probably unlikely that happens. You should get Ryan goalkeeper. Already read that. How is your team, boss? We all know that your team is Tottenham. Yeah. Less said, the better. Shut up, Barnes. Benteke is shocking. Barnes, obviously a Crystal Palace fan, hooligan. Do you sit in that corner with those hooligans banging the drums, Barnes? You one of those? Dre Zero says, what are your thoughts on Mourinho saying that Tottenham has had a spectacular transfer window? Has he really said that? I'm in disbelief. Nana Ya saying, just in the shower, what did I miss? Awkward. Thoughts on Ryan Sessegnon? Shit. Barnes, Bhuna, Son and Robertson and 0.5. Or Salah and Thomas already have TAA. Oh, I just read Bhuna out as if he's a player. So Son and Robertson or Salah and Thomas? Son and Robertson all day. Do you think FPL is getting harder every season in terms of unpredictability and not just relying on the same core of players for a whole season? Do you think FPL is getting harder every season? Yeah, I actually think they've done really well this season in terms of pricing a lot of players around the same price, giving us a decision to make. I know it's kind of been easier to make a squad this season, but there's a lot of players that we can't get them all in. Like you got Bruno at 10.5, you got Sterling, De Bruyne at 11.5, you got Salah and Mane at 12, you got Aubameyang at 12, you got Rashford at 9.5, you got Son at 9. There's a lot of premium options, and you're only realistically going to be able to get 2 or 3 if you're going to have a good squad in your teams. So I think they've done a good thing there. Absolutely. And to answer your question, I don't think it's getting harder necessarily because there are other options that we can do, but I think there's a slightly higher risk now. By the way, 15 minutes till the Champions League final starts. I will probably be going off that because I really want to watch that game. Quickly put your predictions in though. Let's hear what you think. I think Bayern Munich are going to do a professional job. Don't think they're going to roll them over. I think it's going to be 3-2. I think there will be goals. I think both teams will definitely concede. I think it'll be 3-2 to Bayern Munich. I am about 7 minutes away from live time on the live chat, though, in terms of answering questions. So I will answer you. I will read out those scores in about 6 or 7 minutes' time. Thoughts about a Newcastle defender? Yeah, not too bad. Newcastle are always good for a clean sheet. If they're 4.5, absolutely go for it. Notorious Nerd saying Son or Kane. That's a tough question. Bit of team bias because Kane's been in my team all since the fixtures have come out. Son's only recently come out and been in my team. So I'm going to say Kane. Bhuna, no Wolves options. I think you might be overlooking them considering their fixtures. I mean, I've got Vinagre, mate. And I don't think the first 2 game weeks are brilliant for them. But from game week 3 and 4, I'll start loading on them. I want to see who starts. I'm particularly interested to see who starts on the left wing. Whether it's going to be Pudence, whether it's going to be Jota. I'm really interested because that's a 5.5 or it's a 6.5. It's one or the other. And that's what I want to go for. I think I'm going to avoid Jimenez this season. I think I'm bringing in Doherty. I've already got Vinagre. I'm going to bring in Doherty. And I'm going to bring in either Jota or Pudence. I think they're very good options. And a nice switch from Armstrong if he doesn't start well. King Kun said, I'm hearing from a close friend of mine that one of my favourite strikers, Callum Wilson, will be at Spurs. Thoughts? Bring him on. I'll take him. He's proven at this level. He can score goals. He is not world class, but I'll absolutely take him. Thoughts on Pogba? Feels like he can get a good amount of goals and assists. Not for me. I think he started playing a bit deep, and yeah, he's not for me. Is Fernandes essential? No, I don't think he's essential. I think there's other United assets that could do just as well, if not better. Greenwood, Martial, Rashford. I think they're all 3 brilliant options, all cheaper than Fernandes. And Fernandez's stats were he looked really good. Don't get me wrong. I'm a big fan of the eye test, and he looked really good. But a lot of his goals came from penalties. Whether that's sustainable, I don't know. But we'll see. Time will tell. Certainly not a bad option, and I would not advise anyone against buying him. And I imagine his ownership will be sky high come game week 2. Goalkeeper rotation screwed me over this season. Yeah, that's why I'm going for one set and forget. Son and Dyer, good options. Yeah, they're both good options, Notorious Nerd. Dyer, particularly at 5.0, is probably the most nailed-on option at the moment for Spurs in defence. And our fixtures are not too bad at all. Ari saying, I got that boy Chilwell in. Moved to Chelsea, pretty much confirmed. I think he's 5.5. Yeah, good option. I'm not a massive fan of Chilwell. I do think he's overrated. I think the latest transfer fee I read was about 50 million. Which is probably right for both parties, given he's homegrown. But I don't think he's amazing. But what that does mean is Alonso and Emerson definitely no-go options this season. Which is a sad. Alonso's been a bit of an FPL hero, although not so much out of football. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. Bilal saying, watch out for Gordon from Everton, 4.5 midfielder, could get a few starts Nothing more than a bench fodder, though. I've seen him. I'm not massively impressed, but the good thing, unlike Tom Davis, he marauds forward and not backwards, which is good. Ismail Mayet saying my differential is Pereira. If you're on about matches, Pereira, West Brom midfielder, yeah, good option. Leicester first game, their defence is a bit depleted. I have got Thomas in my team. I do think Leicester could do okay. But 8 goals, 16 assists last season for Matheus Pereira from West Brom midfield. He is their talisman. He's going to be to West Brom what Grealish is to Aston Villa. So kind of watch that space and see how he goes. Pre-season will also be quite telling. Other than Vinagre, favourite 4.5 defender, I think if Charlie Taylor didn't have the blank game week and then a toughish fixture away to Leicester, it would be him. But if we're talking season-wide, it has to be Charlie Taylor. 4.5, I think he's an absolute bargain, and I know Steve-O will definitely agree with me on that too. Other than Souček, any other 5 million midfielders? I've only seen one. I do think he's an okay option, actually. I think he's a better option than Souček. He plays a bit more further forward. He's on set pieces. He's on penalties. You know what I'm talking about. That boy, Matt Ritchie. 5.0. Watch that space. Do you think defensive midfielders will make more points due to how they allocate the points? No, I don't. Right then, we've got some predictions for the Bayern PSG game. Bilal Qureshi saying 3-1 Bayern. Nana Yas saying 2-1 to Bayern. Paris versus Bayern. 3-1 Bayern, says Radlad. Ishmael says, not answering that question. Jack Parry 4-2 Bayern. Zimmy says Bayern win on penalties. Mogamat saying 3-2 Bayern. Mr. Anderson 2-1 Bayern. Steve-O is in the chat. Steve-O, didn't realise you were here. Hope you're well, bud. Steve-O says 3 or 4-1 to Bayern. We've obviously got a PSG fan here saying PSG 4-2 Anand Mukherjee. King Kun saying 2-1 PSG. Another PSG fan. Ishmael Mayet saying, will Reece James start? Really depends what formation Chelsea go. Ishmael, it's a difficult one to tell. If they go 4-4-2, there's a good chance Aspi starts at right back. If they go 3 at back and Aspi starts at right centre back, then yeah, Reece James is almost nailed on to start. We don't know how they're going to set up this season. Well, let's see how pre-season goes. Let's watch as much football or read as much analysis in the pre-season fixtures and results. That's probably our best bet. Mogamat saying, do you think Willian will start this season? I do. You're not going to sign a player of that level that's got experience that he has and not start him. I think he will start on the left or right. I think he'll start on the left. I think Aubameyang might start through the middle. I think Lacazette will be on the bench, but I want to see how they do. If I knew Willian was starting, though, he'd be such a tempter to have alongside Aubameyang for those 2 fixtures. I'm going to say that, honestly. 2 plum fixtures to start the season, and having those 2 could be big. Everyone's going to have Aubameyang, so you're not going to really profit too much. But if you've got a second Arsenal midfielder, and they do take those 2 teams to the cleaners, you're in the points. Radlad saying Campbell, or I think he means Kamil Grosicki. Excuse me if I'm wrong. Best attacker in the world. Clearly he's smoking some of that good shit. Venturist Nerd, best 4.5 defenders. So we have got Charlie Taylor, James Justin, and the list stops there. Everybody I have except here is 4.5. Yeah, so fair point. And then Mukherjee makes some good points. You've got Lord Dallas, Vinagre, Peters. Peters not so much. I don't think Peters starts this season, and especially with Charlie Taylor, if he's back, Peters won't be starting. He won't be in midfield either, with Goodmanson back as well. And you've also got Robbie Brady there too. I don't think Peters starts this season, but you've got Justin. You've got Vinagre, good picks. You've got Ayling, you've got Dallas. And watch out for my wild card pick of Alioski. Depending on the formation Leeds go for. Alioski, left wing back. He'll be playing very far forward, and he's a defender. Brandon Williams for 4.5 is good, but I don't think he starts. Tekka says, thanks, Bhuna. Charlie Taylor is. Good luck, dude. I might even bring Charlie Taylor in myself and just have him on the bench for the first 2 weeks, because from game week 3 onwards, I think Burnley have really good fixtures. And it's a 1 transfer less in the future. So I could downgrade Eric Dyer and bring in and double up on the Leicester defence, which isn't ideal. Absolutely isn't. We'll see. We'll see. Having Charlie Taylor on your bench from the start isn't a bad shout, though. St. Maximum has great fixtures up till game week 14. He does, but he also plays for Newcastle. Say no more. Waz says 3-3 PSG win on penalties. Saliba, any good for 4.5? The only thing with Arsenal is I think they've signed another centre-back as well. They've got a lot of defenders at 4.5. You've got Saliba. You've got Bellerin at 5.0. I just don't know if Saliba's going to start. I think we need to wait and see. That's why I think if we knew he was definitely starting, he'd be in every person's team. But I tell you what, I think Martinez will be starting the season because I'm hearing and reading that Leno might not be back. And I think he's an absolute bargain at 4.5, if I'm completely honest. He's a top-class goalkeeper, and he had a phenomenal restart to the season last season. Right, 5 minutes to go, guys, and I will be going off for this Champions League final. I was at the last Champions League final. Sadly, it didn't end the way I wanted, but the experience was proper vibes. Vishal Shetty saying PSG 2-1. Tekka saying Bayern 3-1. Mogamat saying Richie or Maximin. I'd say Maximin just. Thomas Shaw saying Saliba, Vinagre, Justin Shaw on rotation with Trent. Do you think that's good, Bhuna? Yeah, they're all good options. Saliba, if he starts, is a brilliant option. 4.5. If he's nailed on, you can't complain. Tekka saying Alioski is a good player. And then saying, will Ryan Sessegnon start? I don't think so. I think Jose doesn't really go with youth, so I don't think he'll be there for too long. I think we'll sell him or he'll go on loan soon, to be honest. Barnes says, if Bayern win the UEFA Champions League, Lewandowski's got robbed of the Ballon d'Or. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a bit of a bummer, Barnes, because Lewandowski's had an absolute stellar year. I'm completely with you there, mate, but it is what it is. What can you say? This year's not been your normal year. What can you do? Aubameyang, the best captain pick for Game Week 1? I don't think he's the best, but he's definitely up there. Him and Salah probably joint first, I would say. Could go either way. You can make a case for either. Leeds probably the more stronger team defensively, but we know Liverpool love playing the smaller teams, and I personally think it'll be I think it'll be maybe 3-0, 3-0, 3-0, 4-0, yeah. So Salah for me, I think you'll be in the goals. Cameron Jones saying, is it worth changing Ings to a cheap forward so I can get Bruno instead of Greenwood for Game Week 3? Is it worth changing Ings to a cheap forward so I can get Bruno instead of Greenwood? Yeah, why not go Mitrovic, Cameron? I think Mitrovic is a good shout and he's got good fixtures too. And Bruno instead of Greenwood is clearly an upgrade. If you can afford it, do it. I'm not doing that personally, but it's not a bad idea at all, mate. T-Tac saying, say Maximin or Armstrong. I will answer your question by showing you my team. That's my team, and there in the middle is your answer. Hope that helps, T-Tac. Waz FPL, I was there as well, mate. I'll never forget that trip to Madrid. Your fans and I got on quite well as well, which was nice. Oh, mad. I did not know you were there. Yeah, I absolutely loved it. It gave me a completely different impression of Liverpool fans, believe it or not. I went there with a completely different kind of, thought process and impression, but it was actually really pleasant out there. I really enjoyed it, and since then I've not really had, I've not had that impression of Liverpool fans, although they're the most frustrating fans in the world. But it is what it is. Thoughts on Ziyech, Pulisic? Is Ziyech worth the 0.5 saving? Let's see. Let's see how he starts. Techers, I really like Pulisic. Personally, I've got a feeling Chelsea are going to be absolute fire this season, and there's a good chance I'll have both Ziyech and Pulisic in my team. I really hope he returns from injury sooner rather than later, because he was phenomenal towards the end of the season, and I was really looking forward to owning him this season. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to the Ziyech and Pulisic double up. And then says, I don't know what to do if Aubameyang fires. I plan to move sideways to De Bruyne. I mean, if Aubameyang scores 2 double hat-tricks, I'm still getting rid. I've got my plans. They're set. I play the fixtures. It is what it is. A lot of managers say, form over fixtures. I've ignored that in the whole of my FPL career. That's just the way I play the game. I completely get why people say, form over fixtures, but not for me. Aubameyang to Sterling is absolutely nailed on. Is St. Maxim all far and no poo? Yeah, but he's got potential. He did show potential, but it's just the fact that he plays for a defensive-minded team compared to Southampton, who are a far more attacking team, in my opinion. And the only thing is Armstrong, they're both not going to play 90 minutes. Armstrong usually comes off around the 60, 65-minute mark. We know that, but in that time, he can do the damage. We also know that. St. Maximin probably gets a little bit more time, but I think he's less explosive, personally. Could just be team bias, but it is what it is. Yes, my man JNO joining us just as I'm about to go off. JNO, that is bad timing. The Champions League finals just about to start, and there's no way I am staying on to stream whilst that is on. I am looking forward to this. Who else is looking forward to this? I will be going off in 1 minute, but I hope you guys have enjoyed the stream so far. There's a few more questions. In the meantime, if you haven't hit that like button, or if you've not subscribed for whatever crazy reason, hit that like button, subscribe, turn the notifications on. Elite FPL will probably be streaming daily or every other day at least from now till the start of the season. That's what Jason and Stevo do. They are passionate about this game. I've not done it today, but those that have been tuning in the last few days, you'll have seen that we bring on FPL managers and we'll go through your teams, give you the opportunity to ask questions, all of that good stuff, all in Discord and in the description. So make sure you join Discord if you've not already. Paulie says Thomas is 4.5. If he'll probably play if Chilwell leaves, yeah, I think so. And Luke Thomas is quite attacking. He looked really good in the last few games that he did have for Leicester, and that's why he's in there for me over James Justin at this moment in time. Anton Villa fan are saying, which would you prefer, Aubameyang and Salah and mid-price options 6.5 and lower, or one of the two and 3 other second-tier options, Son, Ziyech, Willian? Aubameyang and Salah are probably essential for the first game week at least, Anton. So probably that route for me. JNO, bro, this is it's a big game. What can I say? Right, guys, I am going to shoot off now. I don't have all that fancy intro and outro kind of set up at the moment. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this quick stream. I'll probably be on again at some point in the week, and I will catch you then. But yeah, all the best, and we shall speak soon. Take care, guys.